All right, hey everyone, this is Shane Greer, owner and co-publisher of Campaigns Elections, back for another Campaign Insider, this time with John Rowley of CounterPoint Messaging. And thanks, as always, to our sponsor, Wilsey Research, for opinion research on politics and public policy. John, I got an email from you yesterday or the day before, kind of breaking down, I guess, your thinking about how to create an effective video ad. And I really enjoyed it because it kind of dove into the specifics. You know, it wasn't kind of generalistic, which a lot of these kind of conversations can be. So I just wanted to discuss that because so much of the conversation we have now is around technical targeting capability and things like that, and less on message development. So summarize for me kind of the overarching points you were making in that email for the audience.
Sure. I mean, as the business has evolved, I mean, I think video content, whether it's TV or for online, used to be just the realm of mainly media consultants. And I think it's a skill that almost no matter what chair you're sitting in, you've got to understand, because you're either collaborating or developing video, and every campaign needs more video content than any consultant can supply. And so I think one of the guiding principles is what is the one compelling visual you want to leave people with. And this is something that goes from banner ads to print ads to TV ads to a direct mail piece in terms of what is the defining visual. And I think there ends up being 100 discussions about language and messaging and this and that, and as opposed to sometimes if you can just get it down to that one compelling visual. And then the very different than a TV ad is, I think, the authenticity factor, which sometimes imperfection is perfection, whereas in a TV ad that's going to be seen over and over again, and it's being compared against more neat national commercials. So a little bit of spontaneity in terms of delivery is important for the speaker's credibility, because when we think about credibility, are they known? Are they an authority on the subject, but also are they delivering something in a way that's either inspiring or seems authentic? And I think almost all of the great online viral things that overperform, whether it's a digital ad or a social media video, they have a little bit of like, oh, we captured at least that scintilla, that second or two of authenticity, to a little bit of a snapshot behind the speaker.
Just going back to the first point about that kind of defining visual, give me an example of what that a past campaign or something, what a defining visual actually means in the context of a video, display ad, direct mail, whatever.
Sure. Well, we just wrapped up a race for a candidate who won a primary. It was pretty much a digital only campaign from our chair, and his whole thing was about service. There's a guy named Suhas in Virginia, and so there was this great image of him as a firefighter that was, he looked good, it said service, it said firefighter, it just said a lot of things, and it just became kind of the most memorable visual. And we actually did a post-election research project to ask people about the digital campaign and the door knocking and mail campaign as well. And that's one of the things that stood out from the online and phone interviews we did afterwards. And I think in some ways, like when I got into the business, print ads were so boring. But I think almost the concept of the old great print ads from the Mad Men, David Ogilvy days of advertising are a great study, because so much of what we're trying to do online is a 6-second commercial, something that's a meme or whatever. I mean, those are essentially the same principles of a great old print ad, which wasn't how I was trained in the business. A cut line that says it all, probably not in a sentence, but a few words, and then that one image. And anyway, I think those are kind of back to the future principles that I think that whether you're making ads or whether you're just communicating in campaigns is a skill worth refining. So.
Totally. And to the authenticity point, one of the things that stood out to me in your email, and we discussed this at events, particularly around, we see this kind of with candidates who are using like Instagram stories and things like that. You made a point about like errors not always being a bad thing. Like imperfection might actually be perfection. And I guess that the challenge there, to your point about kind of like national consumer brand advertising, it's also slick, it's also choreographed, it's also scripted.
I think you've almost got to set yourself up to, you've got to have a game plan before you shoot video, whether it's perfectly scripted or you kind of know where you want to say. When we do any kind of content, we try to have a very specific scripted plan, but then have one that allows for, you know, the candidate or main spokesperson to kind of riff and say things in their own words. And I mean, one of the best performing by any measurement ads I ever made, we changed the script at the last minute because two daughters looked at their dad, who was the candidate, and he had said something, and they go, "Duh." And so we changed the ending of the ad to put the daughters saying to the dad, "Duh," and it just became something that way outperformed what any of our research said that it would accomplish as an ad. We way hit beyond our pay weight in terms of the budget. And so, you know, I think allowing the latitude for it. I mean, not everybody, when the red light is on of a camera or their phone, expand as opposed to contract. Somebody like Beto, obviously, he had a campaign where and I didn't work with him, but he just expanded once he got on camera. Some people, you know, like Al Gore, contract once, and so just allowing for, some people work better very prepared, and some people can kind of riff and in the moment capture moments.
Just making them seem more human.
Well, and if they've got an amazing story, there's a lot of things you can pluck out. I mean, we try to spend a lot of time just getting to know everything from policy to accomplishments to professional to nonprofit to music and books and odd things they do in their spare time, because, you know, anything from skydiving to transportation policy might make for something interesting, and to try to match up kind of who this person is with what we're trying to say, with a third dot of what our target audience is into. And I think the other thing is, some things we develop just for online. You know, maybe this isn't for the masses. This is maybe something that we're going to preach to the choir about, or and also technology-wise, shooting things that you don't shoot it the same way necessarily for a TV ad as if it's just going to be live on social media, or if it's just going to be a digital ad. So technology-wise, you've got to think now differently about just the production side of it. And there's all sorts of programs where you can edit things on your phone and your computer, and so I think the tools in the toolbox also have to fit what we're going to do at the end of the day with it. And I think also the biggest challenge, a lot of people, whether you're in an organization or a company or a campaign, is sometimes they decide we need a video that does X, but we haven't thought about what are we going to do with it, which somewhat goes to your targeting. So it's like, if you can match up the content with the campaign plan, then you've really got something. But I wouldn't invest a lot in video unless you kind of have a game plan of where you're going to take it from there.
Well, you spoke about simplicity, you know, in your email, and the example you gave was kind of the tendency on progressive campaigns, certainly, to kind of throw the entire policy book at someone and kind of hope something sticks. It's kind of, I guess, it's the difference between walking into a Walmart and having a gazillion different peanut butter options and walking to a Trader Joe's and having like two. Right. Talk to me about that simplicity point.
Well, there's all sorts of behavioral research that if you give people too many choices, that they can't make a decision. So I think some of it is playing to brain science. Don't fight brain science. And I think also just by their nature, campaign people, we're always trying to tweak, add, twist. And so, you know, one more touch, one more this, and sometimes you can do that to an ad where we've got all these different ingredients we want, but there's so much in it that there's maybe nothing wrong with the spot or the video or the concept, but it's just not going to sing. Some of the most striking ads I think we've ever seen, or online content, is sometimes it's just the simplicity of it. I mean, think about some of the scenes in movies like Star Wars, that it's like it's an ice planet, and there's a human sitting on the ice planet. I mean, the way filmmakers think about things is they think in colors. this is going to be a green shot, and we want the most striking image next to the green, and which is again kind of a Star Wars reference. And so yeah, I mean, instead of I would challenge teams, instead of adding, what can we subtract? You know, what would be, and if you can get it down to a defining image and a defining cut line of something very simple. In some ways, memes are a great guiding principle for concepts as well. I mean, they boil down and communicate so much, and if you get that right, then maybe the rest of the video will work as well. And sometimes what works, or what your concept is we're not trying to overly produce something. So, you know, the solitary person at the desk with a timely message that is going out urgently to the troops at a specific time, that's its own sort of credibility and authenticity for the speaker as well, that doesn't have to have a amazing vista behind them.
Totally. Listen, John Rowley, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your time today talking about this, and thank you to the audience for joining us as well. You can check out our other videos at campaignselections.com on the video page, and of course on the C&E Facebook page. And thanks as always to our sponsor, Probolsky Research, for opinion research on politics and public policy. Thanks, John.
Thank you. See ya.